All right, good evening, everybody. I'd like to start off by thanking you for joining us tonight for the Senior Enlisted Academy's Class 222 class convocation. It's a pleasure to have you here tonight, and again, I thank you. I realize that we have individuals from all different time zones, parts of the world, so thank you for making the effort and joining us here tonight. Um, Through feedback from previous classes, we've learned that this is extremely helpful. The students that attend always learn something that aids them in completing and going through the course. So, yeah, so can't stress it enough. Thank you for joining us. As I mentioned before, the session is being recorded, and no later than by noon tomorrow, we'll have it posted onto our YouTube channel. And as soon as that's done, we'll send out an announcement with all the information on how to access it, so that those that weren't able to join us have have the opportunity to see it at a time that works best for them. And for you as well, if there was something that you didn't quite catch tonight, or you just want to draw back upon, you'll have the information there, and you can always revisit this session and get what you need from it. Uh, so I am Senior Chief Adan Castillo. I'm one of the faculty advisors here at the Senior Enlisted Academy. And tonight, joining us, we have two other faculty advisors. We have Senior Chief Amy Santos and Senior Chief Justin Sequeptiwa. So they're going to be joining us. They'll be monitoring the chat feature of this session tonight. So if at any point in time you have any questions as I'm going through this, chat it up, and one of the FAs online will answer it for me and keep us moving smoothly. So on that note, as I've mentioned earlier before we started the session, as you can see, we ask that you mute your mic and turn off your camera. That way, uh, it doesn't clog up the airways, and allows us to communicate as smoothly as possible. But again, if you got a question, chat it up, and we'll help you out as best we can. Um, and yeah, with that, we'll get started. So we're going to be we're going to be covering the syllabus that hopefully you've had an opportunity to glance over and take a look at as you've had the opportunity here for a day or two now. So we'll touch on a couple of the basics of it, do a brief overview, and definitely highlight some things that are going to be extremely important out of the syllabus. Then we're going to move into navigating through Blackboard. So I'll actually pull up Blackboard, and I'll show you some important areas that you'll find extremely useful as you complete the distance learning portion of the Senior Enlisted Academy. And then some areas that will provide some insight into the in-residence portion for when you do make it into Newport. From there, we'll move on to the major assignment. So that's a whole tab of its own in Blackboard, and that's going to provide you all the major information that you need for the construct of your essays that you're going to be required to provide during the distance learning portion of your course. From there, we'll move on to talk about discussion board, some of the basics to it, some of the guidelines to follow, and even how to access the discussion board area thread, and clear up some of the common misconceptions about discussion boards, how many posts you got to do, and this and that. Then we'll touch on some keys to success, and it's just that we'll give you some pointers that we've learned are very useful to know early on, as that we've received through feedback from previous students. And then we'll finish everything up with some good to know information, things to help you out, which includes information on preparing your travel arrangements for coming here to Newport, Rhode Island. So with that, we'll get it started. So the syllabus, and I'll show you after we're done here, after we're done with this slide, how to access the syllabus. But the syllabus is going to provide you all the information that you need to know for your course at the SEA. It'll cover in detail the distance learning portion, and then it'll touch briefly on the in-residence portion for when you do make it here. Our weeks here at the Senior Enlisted Academy run Monday through Sunday. And if you've looked already, and if you haven't, when you do look in the syllabus, you'll see that we break down our weeks just like that, from Monday to Sunday. We'll list all the events that are due for that week and when they're due, and we'll give you a brief oversight of what that week consists of. Uh, as you may have seen on your group homepage, you'll be assigned two FAs at a minimum. You'll be assigned military FAs that'll be your primary points of contacts for your entire course, And then you also have adjunct FAs. Military FAs are permanently assigned, permanently stationed here in Newport, Rhode Island at the Senior Enlisted Academy. Well, I'll take that back, not permanently, but we're here on orders at the Senior Enlisted Academy. And this is our day-to-day job. Our adjunct FAs are previous active duty military FAs who have since retired, and they now help us out and help us out with the distance learning portion of the course. So your military FAs are going to be the ones that grade your essays, and they'll be the ones taking charge when you do make it in residence. So they'll finish you off the last 3 weeks for your in residence. And as I mentioned before, they're going to be your primary points of contacts for the entire course. Your adjunct FAs are going to grade your weekly discussion board post, and then they'll grade your capstone essay. Um, our adjunct FAs are not here. They're not local in Newport. They're spread throughout the country. We have some in San Diego, some in Indiana, Maine, you name it. We probably got one there. So again, retired senior chiefs, master chiefs who stuck with us and are helping us out. As I mentioned, they'll be the ones grading your discussion board posts. In the syllabus, you'll see that the discussion board posts after week 1 are going to be due on Wednesdays and Saturdays, no later than 23:59. And we'll ask that you provide one primary response and one secondary response to each of the questions each week. And each week you'll have 2 questions that you'll have to reply to. And those answers will come from the required reading for that week. And here later on in the session, we're actually going to talk just on discussion board posts, and I'll show you the discussion board rubric that'll give you a lot more information and more specifics on these discussion board posts. In the syllabus, as I mentioned, you'll see that we break down the weeks, and you'll be able to see what's being covered each week before you actually access the material. And again, I'll touch this here in a little bit, but to access that material, you're actually going to have to be knowledgeable on the syllabus, and you're going to have to take a knowledge check, which is part of your mandatory 6 steps requirements that are due no later than midnight tomorrow. Because without completing that knowledge check that is based on the syllabus alone, you're not going to gain access to the weekly topics. So when you do click on the weekly topics, it'll be blank until you pass that test. It's a quick quiz, 6 questions, and you do have to get 6 out of 6. If you take it and you get 5 out of 6, well, easy day. Give it another shot. Unlimited number of tries, but the key goal is that you got to get 6 out of 6, and then the weekly material it opens up to you. The syllabus will break down what week you have essays due. So as you can see on the screen, your essays will be due in weeks 2, 4, 6, and 7. You'll have some exams that you'll have to complete. Those exams will be taken in weeks 3 and 5. And this will prepare you for your in-residence, because the essays that you will have to complete during the distance learning will turn into speeches in residence. So on that note, as you prepare those speeches, as you work on those outlines, go ahead and save a file of it. Save a copy that you can access at a later time when you do make it here to Newport, because that'll save you some time. Instead of having to recreate an outline from scratch, you can just tweak and peek the one that you have. All right. So that's a quick overview on the syllabus, and just a couple more things, and then I'll actually show you the syllabus and how to access it for those of you that may not have found it yet. So the syllabus is also going to touch on grading. All right. And here at the Senior Enlisted Academy, we go over the 3 strike rule. So 3 strikes and you're out. All right. And all this is highlighted and explained in the syllabus on the Student Academic Action Matrix. So I believe it's on page 3, and I'll show it to you here in a bit. But the Student Academic Action Matrix basically runs you through the process for and if you fail an assignment, the repercussions for it, how it's going to be handled, and the possible consequences of it. It'll show you that you have to score at least a 70 on all the assignments. And if you fail, well, how we're going to handle it, and what happens if you fail that that redo assignment. So that's covered in the student academic action matrix on the syllabus. Very important, so take a look at it. The syllabus will also touch on the surveys that you're going to receive. So Dr. Bud Baker sends out the surveys. We ask you to complete them. We ask you to be completely honest and provide us honest feedback, because this course is for senior enlisted leaders by senior enlisted leaders. So we create the course. So any feedback that you can provide to us, letting us know something that we can better, that's going to benefit us, you know, the fleet, the senior enlisted cadre out there, we're definitely going to look into and do what we have to do to make it better. So complete those surveys and tell us what we can do better. And hey, everybody likes to hear good stuff. So don't just tell us what isn't working 100%. You know, tell us what is. That way we make sure we don't mess something up that's working. So you're going to get those surveys at different intervals, different weeks of the course. An announcement will be sent out. You'll get an email about them. And if you haven't completed it by Friday, you'll get a reminder that Friday to get it done. So again, please help us out, and tell us what you think about the course up to that point. So now I'll show you the syllabus. All right, so when you log into Blackboard, you'll get to the announcements page, and then you should have your color group off to the left-hand side, a link to your color group that'll get you to your group page, to your group's homepage. All right, so everybody will have their own group page. By now, you should be working towards completing the mandatory 6 steps if you haven't already done that. All right, if you haven't already done it, highly encourage you to get that done ASAP, because it has to be completed by 23:59 tomorrow night. Failure to have those 6 steps completed by tomorrow at midnight will result in your disenrollment from the course. So come Thursday morning, first thing your faculty advisors are going to do, they're going to turn in the names of every individual who has not completed those steps, and before the end of that day, you will be disenrolled from the course. All right, so to complete those steps, you're going to go to the Start Here tab, which is over here on your left-hand side. Click there, and you got it right here. Dead center of the page almost, mandatory 6 steps. You click on those 6 steps, and it's going to walk you step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, and your syllabus you're going to find on step 3. So as I mentioned before, in order to gain access to the weekly content, you're going to have to complete the syllabus knowledge check, which is item 3 under step 3. And what that knowledge check is just a quick quiz on the syllabus. It's going to ask you some true false questions about the syllabus. It's a real easy thing if you looked at the syllabus. All right, and to make it easier, hey, have the syllabus next to you, have it up in a separate window, that way you can refer back to it. But failing to do this step, one, not only keeps you blind to what's going to be required in the course, but it's going to lead to your possible disenrollment from the course. So get it done. So this is the one way to access the syllabus. So you click on the syllabus hyperlink, and it takes you to it. All right, gives you a quick overview, course description, outcomes. It's going to cover the distance learning phase, assignments and grading, basically everything that I already talked to in the previous slides. Sorry about that. All right, so here we go. So overview, description, all very easy reads, very important information. All right, then towards the bottom of page 3 is when it starts to break down heavily important items, such as the mandatory 6 steps, and it's going to cover everything that I already mentioned about those steps. It's going to start to give you major assignments that are due and what week they're due in. All right, and as I mentioned before, it gives you a breakdown week by week with the topic for that week and the items that are required and items that are due, deliverables that are due for that week. So it's a good idea to have this printed out, have it handy, and use it as a checklist. It'll keep you on top of things. All right, and then it'll give you the breakdown of how much each assignment, the weight of each assignment for grading purposes. It'll cover the weight for the in-residence assignments. It'll give you the quizzes that you're going to have to do. So distance learning, you're going to have a quiz and you're going to have a midterm. Your quiz is for feedback only. So there's no pass fail unless you don't take it by the due date and time. And I'll cover timeliness here in a little bit, but any feedback assignment, which is going to be the first of its kind for every assignment. For example, your first quiz is feedback only. Your first discussion board post week 1 or feedback only, which means you can't fail it unless you don't do it. So the purpose of that is so that we can get you used to what your FAs are looking for what the Senior Enlisted Academy looks for, how we're grading you, give you some pointers on what not to do in the future. Because the next assignment of that kind is going to be graded, and that's when you can begin to fail assignments. So do your best for every single assignment and get better based on the feedback that you're being provided. So your quiz 1 is 10 questions. It covers weeks 1 through 3. Your midterm is 20 questions. It'll cover material from weeks 1 through 5. And then in residence to graduate Thursday, the day before you graduate that Friday, you're going to have to take a final exam. But we'll cover that as the weeks progress. And a lot of valuable information. But right here on page 8 is the student academic action matrix that I spoke about. That'll give you the consequences and repercussions for failing assignments. So take a look at that and just stick within the guidelines. So that's the syllabus. Again, a lot of good information, fairly easy read. Highly recommend you print it out, have it with you, reference it as much as possible. So that was one way to get to it. The second way to get to that syllabus is again through the Start Here tab. And if you look down here under the mandatory 6 steps, you're going to see a download center. Click on that download center. It'll be the first thing that you can download. And I'll talk about the download center here again in a little bit, all right? So that's the syllabus. And let's get back on track. All right, so staying on top of things. Again, it's silly to take avoidable failures. Avoidable failures are those failures where you just had no business failing. For example, missing a deadline. So we do our best to provide you every means to knowing when assignments are due. So there's no reason for you to miss that deadline, especially feedback only assignments. So if you fail to take that quiz 1 before the due date and time, you're going to fail it. That's the only way. Your first essay is feedback only. You don't turn it in on time, it's an automatic failure, no questions asked. Had you submitted an essay, and even if you bombed it, well, you turned something in. So don't miss it. Another easily avoidable failure is exceeding the similarity index on these essays. And we'll touch on that when we look at the practical exercises under the major assignments. What the similarity index is you basically had more of somebody else's words over yours. Maybe not to the point of plagiarism, which is its own beast, but still you use somebody else's words too much and you exceeded the similarity percentage. Each essay has its own, and it's covered in the practical exercises for each essay. All right, so where do you find the deadlines that I mentioned? Well, they're everywhere. The syllabus is going to tell you what week that specific assignment is doing. The calendar is going to give you the specific date and time for each assignment. Then we also have weekly checklist that you have access to in Blackboard. And then your FA. Your FA will be communicating what's coming up due and all those lines. They'll set their own timelines for when they want to see outlines by, or when whatever it is that they need, they'll be setting some timelines and they'll remind you and keep you on track for major assignments. So there's no reason that you should be missing a deadline and taking those avoidable failures. And then on the weekly discussion board threads, which you should be accessing at least 2 to 3 times a week, you'll have reminders there of big ticket items that are coming up due too. All right, so I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. So again, the syllabus we covered, and again, that's going to tell you what week assignments are due. The calendar that I spoke about is over here on the left-hand side calendar. You click on it, and it'll take you to your class calendar, and it's broken down by weeks. So if we look at week 1, here we are today, the 12th. On the 13th of December by 23:59, your class 6 steps are due. We've worked in your essays, so your ethics essay is due on this date by 23:59. So it's not a bad idea to print this calendar out too and have it, because we've worked in every major assignment into this to help keep you on track. So we looked at the syllabus, we looked at the calendar, and then on the weekly lessons, so well, I didn't do the knowledge check myself, so I don't have access to the material. But if you haven't done the knowledge check, when you try to access the weekly lessons, this is what you're going to see. All right, but I'll exit the learner preview so I can show you exactly. So weekly lessons right here. For week 1, you'll obviously go to week 1, which is what we're in now, and everything is there for you. And again, this week, if by noon Tuesday you haven't received a survey, email Dr. Bud. Submit your ethics essay topics. Complete the mandatory thing. Everything is right there for you in the weekly lessons. And then the last place that we put a reminder for you in is the group discussion board post. So you have links to that on your group's homepage. And here you are right here. So for week 1, it's right there for you. Upload your PPME and your 6 steps by Wednesday, class up survey. Week 2, you got reminders there. So everywhere you go, and at a minimum, you should be going into your discussion board post. We have a reminder for you of what's coming up. So just to say it one last time, don't be late. Don't take avoidable failures. All right, so navigating Blackboard. So I'm going to show you what we're going to talk about, and then we're going to move back to Blackboard, and I'll show you where all these things are. But you have access to the Navy War College Library. So the Senior Enlisted Academy is part of the Navy War College, so we give you access to the entire library. So that's going to come in extremely handy when you're drafting your essays and you're looking for sources to help you draft your essays. So I'll show you how to access that. Search it by specific books, topics, articles, whatever. And the Navy War College, if it has it, you have access to it. I'll show you where announcements will be posted, because throughout the distance learning and even in residence, if an announcement has to go out to the entire class about your class specifically, it'll be posted there. I've already shown you where the weekly lessons are. I'll show you where the major assignments is, because this is where the practical exercises for each essay is, and you have to look at, read, and follow that practical exercise if you stand any chance of passing that assignment. All right, I'll show you where the quizzes and exams are located, and then I'll show you the resources tab. We've crammed this resources area with pretty much everything we can think of, and we know that's going to help you be successful in drafting your essay. So we've provided a digital copy of the APA manual, the three-part communications model, documentation, literature, all that stuff. It's in there for you. Plagiarism, what's a credible source and what's a not a credible source. So all those things are in there in the resources tab, and I'll show you where it is. And then I'll show you the My Grades area and what you should be looking for in there. Then I'll also go back and I'll also show you the download center and how that may come in handy if you find yourself taking an unexpected trip at any point in time. All right, so the Navy War College Library was the first thing I was going to show you. So I'll go back to your view. Go back. There we go. Okay. All right, so we'll just take it from the top. So the Major Assignments tab. Major Assignments is where you're going to find all the crucial information for your essays that you're going to have to draft up during your distance learning portion. This section starts off with an overview of Turnitin. Turnitin is the program website process that we use for essay submission. You upload your essay into Turnitin, and that's what's going to run it through the similarity check. That's what's going to tell you what the percentage is, and that's where you should be monitored in. Through Turnitin is where your faculty advisor is going to access the essay and pull it down to grade it and provide you your grade and feedback on it. It's going to give you instructions on how to submit it. There's a YouTube video link that explains similarity, and then it's going to give you instructions on how to view your grade and your feedback if your essay was graded via Turnitin. Some faculty advisors download the essay and grade it through Word and then upload the document itself. Every FA is different, but the video there is strictly for the Turnitin graders. If your FA grades through Word, then they'll be providing you guidance on how to access and view their feedback and your grades. All right. But we're going to look at the ethics essay, which is your first essay that'll be coming up due first. All right. But as I mentioned before, every essay has its own practical exercise, and each practical exercise presents its own unique instructions for that essay. So don't stick with just this one practical exercise. So you go to major assignments, and then you find the essay that you're working towards. So here's the ethics essay, which is due in week 2. You're going to want to download or open up the practical exercise for that assignment. So this is going to give you all the instructions that you need for this specific essay. Very easy to read, very easy to follow. So the assignment is going to have to be in the three-part communication model, or 3PC. All right, it's going to tell you that you have to choose a case from the Encyclopedia of Ethical Failure, and that you have to have it approved by your faculty advisor prior to writing on that specific case. Develop an outline. It's going to give you references that you can go back to help you out with the 3-part comms. All right, but important information like this is what you want to extract from these practical exercises. So this specific essay is 2 to 3 pages, not counting the title page or the reference page. It's going to tell you that it has to be written not only in 3-part comms, but also following the APA 6th edition style and guidance. All right. Another piece of information that you need to pull from this is something along these lines. On your reference page, you have to have a minimum of 2 references. And the encyclopedia will be one of those 2. So you can have 3, 4, 5 at a minimum, though you need 2, and one of those 2 has to be the encyclopedia. The similarity index that I spoke about earlier. This specific essay cannot exceed 30%. Your problem essay that'll be due after your ethics essay, that has its own, a different percentage. The heritage essay has a different one. So you have to get into that practical exercise for that essay and get the specifics for that assignment so that you don't fail on just that. Exceeding the similarity index is a loss of 31 points just for exceeding the similarity index. So do the math. That's a 69. We might as well coin it or term it an automatic failure, because that's what it's going to result in. So my advice to you on that is to submit your essay and to turn it in early. So don't procrastinate on getting it done. Do it early, submit it early, and see where your similarity index is. If you happen to be at 33 or 34 and you have time to change some things up within your essay, then that's what you should do. And then you should resubmit it. You can resubmit an essay as many times as you want up into the deadline. At the deadline, you can no longer submit that essay. On that note, the closer you get to the deadline, the more people are going to be submitting, so the system gets bogged down. So that's why I say submit it early. Again, an avoidable failure. I'm sorry. Every essay, you're going to see this in the practical exercise, it has to be written in third person. So avoid using the words I, me, we, you, your. Use words like he, she, they, them, and we have more guidance on that in the writing in the resources tab. But keep it in third person. In your week 1 topics or lessons that you should have gone through or that you will go through this week if you haven't already done it, there's a video that'll walk you step by step on how to configure Word to help you catch these type of things and it'll identify them prior to you submitting your essay. So look for that video and follow it to help you out. Of key importance, and one of the mistakes that students make the most is they fail to write on what we ask you to write about. So this specific essay, we're telling you the 2 main points that you have to use. So here you see that main point 1 is going to be background and main point 2 is going to be impact. So those are the 2 main points that you have to write on. Those are going to be the headings that you're going to use. Those are going to be the words that you're going to have to use in your overview, in your summary, in your transition sentences. So this is where you're going to get this information from, the practical exercise. And again, can't stress it enough, each essay has its own individual practical exercise. So make sure you're looking at the right one for the right assignment. So that was the major assignments tab. And again, every essay is going to have its own one, so make sure you're in the right place. All right, I already showed you the calendar. Now we'll go into the resources. Resources, we got all kinds of documentation in here that'll help you in the composition of your essays. Document literature on 3-part comms, on APA style, what credible sources are, what they're not, course videos, and here's the access to the War College Library under the resources. So you click on that, and there's a step-by-step instruction on how to search, and it'll help you get to it. Over here on the left-hand side, you'll see it right there. There's a video on how to get you there. And you just navigate your way to it. Quizzes and exams. On this tab over here on the left is where you're going to go to access your quizzes. Again, the syllabus and the calendar will keep you on track on when you should be accessing these, and the no later than complete date and time. View my grades. Once your assignments are posted and graded, this is where you'll get a notification that a grade has been posted for you, and under view my grades is where you will come in and see your results. If there's feedback provided, you'll see a little blue word bubble. You click on that, and it'll navigate you to the feedback that your faculty advisor provided for you. And that was it. The last thing I wanted to show you was the Download Center. The Download Center, as I showed you earlier, is under the Start Here tab. The Download Center, I highly recommend you go to and you download the material. If there's any possibility that you're going to have to travel somewhere where your internet or Wi-Fi connectivity is going to be limited or non-existent. All right, so you'll click on the Start Here, the Download Center, and then Download Center again. And here's all the material provided for you. When I was a student, I ended up having to make a last minute deployment. Connectivity was going to be slow, so I communicated with my FA. He told me to come here, download it, and I was able to do it. And at first, The first chance I got Wi-Fi, I logged on and I uploaded all my stuff. But I was able to stay on track because I had all the material there for me. So highly recommend that you go here, download this material and have it handy, because you never know when you're going to need it. All right, so the major assignments tab showed you that. All right, showed you where the PEs are, the important information they contain, and again, I stress the importance of following the main points that the practical exercises ask you to write about and cover. All right, I showed you that the practical exercise shows you what the similarity percentage is for each essay, as well as the essay length and pages. And if there's a minimum number of references that you need, the practical exercises covers that as well. The capstone project. The capstone project is a multi-milestone project that the entire group is going to cover. When I say group, I'm talking the blue group, the brown group, the gray group. So not the class, but each group is going to have its own capstone project. All right. The capstone project information is also found in the major assignments tab, and the PE for it is there as well. All right. This isn't just an essay, even though the essay is one of the big pieces of it. All right. So milestone 1, which is going to be due by Sunday midnight of week 2, is simply providing an outline for that essay and the reference page. All right, and it's going to provide you the main points that you got to cover, essay lengths and everything. It's going to tell you where to submit it. Milestone 2 is your essay. All right, 8 to 12 pages, similarity index of 35. It's going to tell you that the project leader is the one that's going to submit that, and more information. Milestone 3 is actually completed, done, and presented once you're in residence. And that's going to be an executive level presentation to the entire class based on your essay and the information that you acquired in the composition of that essay. So take a look at it, and here no later than this week, you guys should start talking about it amongst your groups as to who's going to do what. And that is done by accessing the wikis in your own group. All right. So I'll exit the learner preview here later on, and I'll show you where those wikis are. So that's the capstone essay. So again, ensure that you read the proper practical exercise for the proper essay and follow the guidelines. Again, common failure for essays is just not adhering to the PE, the practical exercise. Discussion boards. So discussion board posts are going to be due every single week. Week 1, this week only, all of your posts are due no later than midnight this coming Saturday. Next week and beyond, we get on normal regular schedule, which is your primary posts are due by midnight on Wednesdays, and your secondaries are due by midnight on Saturdays. All right, so keep track, especially these first 2 weeks, and make sure that you're not late. Each week's discussion board posts pertain to the required reading for that week, and we have themes for every week, so you'll see that in the weekly breakdown. All right, discussion board basics. You can get that information through the discussion board rubric, and I'll show you how to get that here in a few seconds. All right, the discussion board rubric is going to give you the word count for each post that you have to make, and it's going to talk about the requirement of citing your sources. All right, so I'll show you that now. So to access the discussion board rubric, easiest way to do it is to go to the download center, and you'll see it right here, discussion board rubric. Click here and it opens it up. It's going to give you a little brief background on it, some examples, and it's going to give you the due dates and times, your primary responses, and then your secondary responses like I already covered. It's going to give you your word limit. So primary responses 200 to 250, your secondaries 50 to 100. and it's going to give you the grading criteria for each post. Okay. So take a look at the discussion board rubric. It's going to help you out a lot, as well as the feedback provided by the adjunct FA every week. To get to the discussion board post, exit the preview. To get to the discussion board post, you're going to have to go into your own individual group's discussion board thread. All right, so I happen to be the faculty advisor for the khaki group. So khaki group's going to come to a page that looks like this. They can either access it on the left-hand side over here, group discussion board, or they can access it under the group tools. All right, either way, it's the same, group discussion board. Open it up, and this is the area where you should be making your acknowledgement post, which is the last step of the 6 steps that are due by midnight tomorrow. So go to that area. In this area is you're also going to post your essay topics. All right, but here we're talking about the weekly post. So you're going to go to week 1 for this week. Open that up, and then you're going to see the 2 questions. Again, this is based on the required reading that you're going to have to do for that week. So for these 2 questions, you're going to have to, here's what you're going to have to do. For each question, you're going to have to make a primary post, which is a response to the overall question. Then you're going to be required to make a secondary post, which is a reply to another student's primary post. All right. So you click on the question, and there you see the overall question. To make your primary post, you're going to click on reply, and that's where you make your 150 to 200 word post. This student here already made his. A secondary post is going to be done one of 2 ways, and that's dependent on the adjunct FA. You're either going to click reply under the student, and that's where you'll make your short post, your 50 to 100. Some adjuncts ask you to go through the quote button. Either way it goes is the same. Either reply or quote directly under the student, and you make your short post. So that's the quick down and dirty to discussion board post. And citing sources, your adjunct FA will provide you more specifics on how they want to see it and whether those in-text citations counts towards the word count or not. So definitely take a look at the feedback provided and adjust accordingly. Keys to success: be open to the learning experience. Some of the material is going to be new to us. Some of the material you're going to think, I'm an aviation maintainer, so I personally thought, well, what does this have to do with me leading my sailors back at the squadron, out there trying to fix aircraft? So be open to it. Look at the bigger picture. Take it in and know that it's for a reason. It's building. We build upon it. So it started with your PP&E, and it's there for a reason. So trust us. Just don't shut us out. Don't be closed-minded, because you'll miss out on some good stuff. Read and follow the practical exercises. I've covered that enough. Just as I've talked about the deadlines and the importance of meeting them so that you don't take avoidable failures. Communicate early and often. All right. Communication is going to be key in each and every group with your faculty advisor. We were all students at one point in time. The majority of us were students on sea duty or on a deployable status. So we know that things happen. The majority of us have families. We know that life happens. So communicate it. If you have an issue, if you foresee an issue, let your FA know. We will work with you if we know ahead of time. If you tell us after the fact, well, we rarely can do anything about it. So communicate early, communicate often, and communicate amongst yourselves as well. Some of us get this stuff really quick. Some of us, well, we struggle with it a little bit. So talk to each other, help each other out. All right, that's what we do in the Chiefs Mess. Which brings me to the next point. Use your mess. Your FA is part of your mess. Use us. Your group is your mess. Use each other. Tell each other that you're struggling. Tell each other that you think you got it. All right. And then don't forget about your mess back home. Don't forget about your command master chief, your senior enlisted leader. Chances are somebody within your command or your region has been to the Senior Enlisted Academy. Reach out to them, ask them for help, tell them what you're struggling about, pick their brain. All right, which brings us to that last point on this slide. Find and use an academic mentor. Find somebody that's been through the Senior Enlisted Academy, ideally, preferably within the last year. They'll be the ones that have been exposed to the most current material. So pick their brain, ask them what they wish they would have done better, what they wish they would have known, or anything that's going to help you. So there's no reason to go into something blind. Ask your FA, ask your mess, ask your academic mentor. And if you can't find somebody within your region, well, reach out to your FA. Let them know that you're interested in an academic mentor. Let them know where in the world you are. And chances are your FA probably has a student somewhere in that area that they may be able to connect you to. Good information to know. The student handbook. The student handbook you can find on Blackboard. The student handbook is going to give you general information on the Senior Enlisted Academy. It's going to give you our mailing address. It's going to give you a lot of valuable information. All right, especially the closer we get to the in residence portion. So you go to start here, download center, and you can see the student handbook right there. And again, this is something you should look at the closer you get to it, but it's not a bad idea to start looking at it now. And then group shirts. So group shirts are an optional item that groups choose to do. All right, it's a shirt that the group will design, develop, pay for themselves for the group, and it just shows camaraderie, builds esprit de corps. We wear them at all the physical training events while in residence, and every group does their own thing. Generally, the shirts uh, um, are of the color of that assigned group. Um, the designs are something that the group knows about, something that they all voted on. Uh, and yeah, I don't think there's been a group here in the past couple classes who didn't design their own shirt. But again, it is optional. It is done by the group for the group. And an announcement will be posted here in the next few weeks simply about that. But it's just something to start thinking about. So if anybody within your group's artistic, has some talent, knows of a good t-shirt place, then it's something you can let each other know. That way, if the group does decide to work towards a group shirt, you guys already have a leg up on it. Some more good information. So from our DTS coordinator, we realize that a lot of us don't have experience with DTS and booking our own travel. So we've tried to make it as easy for us as possible. So basically what it boils down to is do not work ahead, but also don't be late. So stick with the instructions that are going to be provided via announcements and via announcements really. So whenever the DTS coordinator deems that it's time for you to do a certain thing, well, that's when you should do it. All right, so don't book, and also don't book lodging through DTS. All right, follow the instructions that are going to be provided in week 2. All right, follow the 5 steps that are listed under the DTS Travel Info tab. All right, there's 5 steps. And in those 5 steps, we've made videos that'll walk you through the process on how to complete each step. So you'll see the DTS Travel Info tab, and then you're going to see all the steps. There's a PowerPoint with notes, there's a video. So if you don't have somebody at your command that's going to do your travel for you, and you have to do it yourself, well, if you stay with the program and you follow these steps, it's going to be pretty hard for you to mess something up. But if you do run into some issues, and there's something you can't figure out, well, that's all right, because you can contact our DTS coordinator and they'll help you out. They'll walk you through it. But there's different milestones, and you'll be prompted for them through announcements again and emails, and your FA will hit you up if you fell behind or something along those lines. But we're gonna do what we can to help you get you here on time. Most important piece of information is this contact info down here. So any issues, contact our DTS coordinator. And again, this is just for our Senior Enlisted Academy funded students, so our TAD students only. So this will not pertain to our reservist brothers and sisters out there, our sister services, our international students. This is just for TAD funded students. If you have questions about it, again, contact our DTS coordinator or your FA. And as I mentioned before, follow the 5 steps, stick to the announcements, and when in doubt, contact our coordinators. So in summary, tonight I covered Blackboard. I showed you some important areas in Blackboard that have some real good information for you that should make your life easier as you progress through the distance learning portion. I showed you the major assignments, which contains the ever so important practical exercises that should lead you to success as you can work through those essays. Showed you where to post the discussion board post, how to make your primaries, your secondaries. I showed you where the rubric is. So later today, tomorrow, at some point, go in there, find that rubric and brush up on it so you know exactly what you got to do. Then we talked about some keys to success and wrapped it all up with some good to know information, which was mostly about DTS, which is going to be extremely important here in the next few weeks. So with that, I will open it up to any questions, if anybody has any that haven't been asked via the chat. All right, well, silence I'm going to take as it meaning that we're good. All right.
Hey, actually, I do have a quick question. Can you hear me?
Yep. What's up?
So I missed the first few minutes. Is this going to be available for to review later? This presentation?
Yes, sir. The session was being recorded, so by lunchtime tomorrow, we'll have this uploaded to our YouTube channel, and we'll make an announcement in Blackboard that'll go out to everybody in the class with the information on how to access this video. So it'll definitely be posted, and you can access it at any time.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep. Anybody?
I have a quick question.
All right, what's up?
I'm not sure if I read anywhere what uniforms are required to take for the in-seat.
All right, so the uniforms you'll need are going to be your khaki or service equivalent with either the combo cover or your garrison cover, your choice. You're going to need the official PTU or physical training uniform. You're going to need your working uniform, your type 3s or your type 1s, whatever it is you're wearing, with an 8-point cover, no command ball caps. So that's all the uniforms that you'll need. Khakis, your camis, your PT gear, and that's it. Civvies. Definitely recommend and encourage you to keep an eye on the weather, as it's pretty crazy up here, so keeping an eye on that's going to help you pack smartly.
Awesome. Hey, thank you.
Yep, there's no need for dress uniforms or any of that. Amy, Justin, if you're still out there, I'll open it up to you if you got anything for them, unless anybody else has something.
Hey, AC, real quick question. For looking in the student guide and everything coming up there, it said shared heads within the rooms up there. Is that still the case?
No. So we're actually in the process of updating that literature due to the fact that our primary residence for students is no longer in Tomich Hall. There's a new gateway that's opening up, and shared heads is not a thing anymore. So that's a great question, and I'll definitely follow up on that tomorrow. Make sure that we are pressing towards that change. But yeah, no shared heads. Great question.
All right, appreciate it.
Anybody else? All right, folks. Well, again, silence means we're good. So, hey, once again, thank you for joining us tonight. I hope you got something good out of it. If I didn't hit on something that you have a question about, contact your FA. Communication is key. Communication is golden. So contact your FA. Ask away. That's what we're here for. Shoot them an email. Shoot them a text. Give them a call. We're available. We love what we do. We look forward to working with you, learning alongside of you, and ultimately meeting you and breaking bread with you when you come up here in residence. So, yeah, if there's anything I personally can ever do for you or anybody at the Senior Enlisted Academy, please do not hesitate to reach out. And with that, we'll end it. So, good luck to everybody, and yeah, I'll see you in a few weeks.